This is the School Success Podcast, a podcast for school leaders to learn from other school leaders what's working and what's not, and to get inspiration and encouragement, as well as strategies to grow school enrollment, connect with families, retain teachers, recruit teachers, and everything in between. You guys are heroes, and I cannot thank you enough for pouring into this next generation that's coming behind us. My goal is you will take at least one thing away from every episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Please enjoy the School Success Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation.
Time for school.
Hey, School Success Makers. Welcome to another edition of the School Success Podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Slater. I'm joined again by a good friend out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, Russ Gregg, who is the founder and head of School of Hope Academy. And if you guys did not tune into last week's episode, please pause the episode and go back to that one. I do think it's going to help this episode make a lot more sense and be able to absorb some of the information that's coming in about fundraising, because we dive into everything about Hope Academy and how they're structured, how they got their start. And it was just a fun, good old episode where you also get to know Russ Gregg a little bit, as he's going to be diving in to talk about fundraising and everything involved there. So if you can, I would go pause, go watch that, listen to that episode, and then come back and hit play for this one. But Russ, we'll just jump right back into here. Obviously, you're running this school. You guys just celebrated 25 years. You have this kingdom flip mindset where 10% of the funding is coming from tuition from families, and 90% is being brought in by people pledging money or fundraising the money, or saying, hey, I'm going to sponsor a child and take care of their tuition for them. Let's start with that part first, diving into what does that model look like? How are you finding people that are saying, yes, I want to sponsor that kid and pay thousands of dollars a year to support the student? Let's kind of dive into that one maybe first. What's that look like?
Yeah. You know, one of the best pieces of fundraising advice that I ever got over the years was this idea that your organization or your school has no needs. You think, what? It feels like that's all I've got is needs. Your school has no needs unto itself. What your school has are solutions. That's a game changer. That is a revolutionary idea, that because most all of us, if we think of our school only as having needs, then we think that our role is going out and begging people to meet our school's needs. But your school has no needs unto itself. It doesn't have any reason to exist unto itself, right? But your school has solutions. And so the best way to think about our work is to think that like you were going on to the show, the Shark Tank, right? That if you think about it, the person comes out and they don't come out with a need, right? They come out with a solution to a need, right? And before them are these venture capitalists. Well, in the same way, in your city, there are philanthropic venture capitalists. Right? These are people that God has entrusted wealth to, that have a vision for the good of their city, but they're needing they need something, right? They need an entrepreneur, right? Who sees that need and is doing something about it. And so our schools, right, are meeting one of the biggest needs in our city, right? Now, particularly in the case of Hope Academy, where we're serving those that from homes of poverty, and that we're serving a need that the donors really care about, but they need somebody who's meeting that need. And so think like you're bringing solutions, not needs, right? And that's a complete game changer. You're a problem solver, right? Not somebody. And so, you know, thinking through, if you've got a project, right, that you're doing, is how could the donor's investment help you to do something together that otherwise couldn't be done, And how is this project going to impact the future of our city? Right, because they deeply care about that, and they're looking for partners in doing that. Now, how, Mitchell, you asked, well, how do you do that? I'd say the main thing you need to do is you need to become a great storyteller, right? You need to show, not tell, and literally our schools are one of the best show and tell stories in the city. And so, if that's the case, one thing that we've done very successfully is every month on like the third Thursday of the month, we host a tour of hope, a tour of our school, and it's a 59-minute tour, right? that somebody's going to invest and come from 12 o'clock to 12:59, and learn about the opportunity here at Hope. And so actually just before our podcast now, we had our monthly tour today. And I had close to 20 visitors who came and spent 59 minutes learning about the school. And just like you think about the way David went to the brook and got five smooth stones, right? Is that you need to have 5 stories really that illustrate the need for your school, right? And the effect of your school. And these are authentic illustrations of why your school is so effective and so essential. And people who come to visit these major donors, they may forget everything else you told them, but they won't forget the stories that you told about how your school has changed a child's life.
You're so right. I love stories. And when I know when our pastor gets up and he shares a story, I'm like locked in, and I'm ready. I'm ready, because I know it's just human nature, but also for Mitchell Slater, I love to speak in stories, but also learn in stories. I would rather I could learn more from you talking to me right now than if you said, "Hey, Mitchell, read this pamphlet I wrote about something." I'm like, oh, like, no, man, there's something about you being there live with them in front for 59 minutes, and you can share stories that they're going to resonate, instead of going, here's a brochure. It has a couple stories on there. If you get a chance later, read about some of the students' lives. That's also not the same. They want to see that it's relational. It's a very relational thing when we're talking about money, of course, especially for donations and that funding side of it. So I 100% agree with you.
As a part of that tour, we will take the group to go visit a classroom. And while they're in the classroom, we have something here that we call the Hope Academy Declaration. So this is like a 3-minute memorized creed that tells about who we believe God to be, who we believe he's made us to be, how we're going to live with each other, and what his destiny is for our lives. And we'll come in and have a group of 6 or 7-year-olds stand up and recite this 3-minute declaration from memory. And it slays every time that they do it, right? Because immediately they go, "What is going on here?" Right? This is unbelievable. This is crazy, because what they came to expect, right, particularly in an inner city context, is chaos, confusion, failure, and that. And they're seeing something that is so beautiful. They go, "I couldn't do that," and so the creed, or the declaration says, we go to Hope Academy, a kingdom school. And I've had so many people say, "You had me right there." Right from then on, I was good. So and then as we're touring around, we're explaining why it is that our school is so successful at what it does. And so we make it easy for them to remember that there are 5 key reasons why it's successful, and we explain all that. And then in the middle of it, we have a group of our own students come and meet us, and we interview our students for maybe 7 minutes, right? And they're telling about all the work that they're doing, the way that the mission trips that we do together as a class have transformed their lives, and what their vision is for the future, right? Then we go a little bit further, and then we meet up with a parent, and a parent comes and tells her story of how Hope Academy has transformed their family and what it's meant to them, right? And then we finish up at the very end with well, how could you get involved? How could you get in on the joy of this, and let them know that there's a pathway and invite them in their participation. So it's 59 minutes, but it's got a sizzle from beginning to end in a way and here's the other important thing is if you get it on the calendar, then during the month, as you bump into people, you say, hey, would you be willing to come for an hour and see one of the most impactful things going on in our city? Come to the tour of hope. And then they say, oh no, I really can't, because I'm my Aunt Sophie is coming into town then. Oh, well then how about the January tour, right? So you've got them already on this, right? And so if you schedule them ahead of time, it really helps to get people to the tour.
Hey, school success makers, Mitchell here. I just want to take a really quick break from the show to give a big, huge shout out to the 𝒔𝒂 Foundation. I absolutely love the 𝒔𝒂 Foundation. I've been friends and partners with them for a couple years now, but we're bringing it to a whole new level. And I'm excited to share that our very own School Success podcast is now featured on the 𝒔𝒂 Foundation Podcast Network. The 𝒔𝒂 Foundation is a powerhouse of resources designed to support schools like yours, from free training events through the 𝒔𝒂 Foundation Institute to their incredible online news publication, The Lion, and of course, our new podcast, Home. They have everything you need to stay informed and inspired. And if you're dreaming of starting your own Christian school or co-op, don't miss their online course, Schoolbox. It's a fantastic resource to help you get started on the right foot. At School Success, we're proud to partner with the 𝒔𝒂 Foundation to bring you these valuable tools and insights. So visit 𝒔𝒂foundation.com to explore all they have to offer. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on these amazing opportunities for growth and success. And I love all the people over there, and I know you guys will too. So please go check them out, and you won't be disappointed. Now, back to the show. I love that. And something I want to highlight from what you said, Russ, for the listeners that are tuning in, is that you guys are proactive, and you also you're doing your due diligence in this. And so I think a lot of times when we've talked to our clients in the schools we talk to on a regular basis, is sometimes it's just they kind of just throw stuff at the spaghetti at the wall hoping it sticks. They're like, if somebody says, oh, they're interested, oh well, yeah, what do you want to know about it? We have 100 students, we do, and they kind of just wing it. And if from what I've known from like talking to, like when we're talking about high number investor people, they don't want that. They want to know you have your act together, you're organized, you know specifically what you need and where that money's specifically going. And so, yeah, when you're talking about having it be very
remember, don't use the word need. Don't use
that.
Not what you need. It's what those students need, right?
Amen.
That's the trick.
And so when you have all that organized out, I love that, is they're more apt to give you the time of day and be like, well, let me hear about what all you guys are doing. And so I love that. I just feel like most schools maybe miss that part, and they just they wing it. And I don't think that is not an area you want to be winging it in. So having it regularly scheduled is awesome. You talked about meeting people, throughout that month, and hey, come to our event. Are you guys doing any other thing to get people there besides just randomly running into people? Or are there other things you're doing?
Yeah. Well, the best people to invite to the tour are people who are already partners, right? Oh, by the way, what the probably one of the best things that we do is that twice a year we host all of our partners at what we call a partner day. And so they're all invited to come. And what we do is we partner every person, every donor up with a student, right? And so they get that student's picture. I know when I've been visited their homes, on the refrigerator, guess what's on the refrigerator, right? The student that they've been helping. Some of them, who've been partnering with a student for 5-6 years, they've kept all of them, and you can see how the child has grown over the years. Then there's twice a year they receive a note of appreciation from the student and a chance for the partner to reply. So there's a real, they know that they're not giving to an institution, they're giving to transform that child's future. And that's a really big big thing. But then twice a year, we invite all the partners to come for Partner Day, and in that they get to hear a message from me about what's going on at the school. But then the best part is they get to go into the classroom and spend some time with the student that they've been helping, and it builds this kind of ongoing connection. And so, when they're writing that check, they know who they're whose life they're changing, right?
Yeah.
And so connecting them on a personal level has been a key part of the success, and then giving them a couple opportunities each year to come in and reconnect with that student that they're helping.
You mentioned partners, so like they come in on maybe another level. What are some of those other ways that you get there on this level and then get asked to come to the once a month meetings or show and tell things?
Oh, I forgot. So the people that are already partners are the best people to refer their friends to come to the tour.
Gotcha.
So we might say to a partner, "Hey, would you consider hosting the April monthly tour and invite 5 of your friends and neighbors or relatives to come to that tour?" And so they're the ones who are going out and connecting us to new people to learn about hope. And they love doing it because this is one of the greatest sources of joy in their lives. And so they want to share that with friends and relatives.
And at the end of the 59 minutes, is there a specific ask, or is it let us know?
There's not. No. Then we say somebody from the school will follow up in the next week to get your feedback on what you saw, and if you could see yourself getting involved in some way. So for some, it might be coming to volunteer, right? And others, so the idea of cultivation, right? And so no, there's not an ask at the end of the tour. But somebody follows up later and asks if could see some ways that they would want to get involved.
And so then I'm assuming then you also too, Russ, have different levels of partnership. You mentioned volunteering. So if somebody gets invited to the partner dinner, the partner thing is that a person that just volunteers from the community, and also the person who gives $500,000 checks? I mean, what do you kind of split that up in a way of how you separate the people out?
Yeah, not too much. If you give at this partner level, then which could either be like a half partner or a full partner or 2 kids, but then you're invited to those partner day gatherings. For those that prefer to start at a different level, we enroll a class of kindergarten students without having their partner yet. And so during that first year, what we did is we took the whole year's worth of days, 170 days, and said, for $600, you could sponsor a day of kindergarten. And so that's a perfect level for one group of people and then they often come to the kindergarten graduation because they've invested in those kindergartens while we're looking for their long-term partner.
That's cool.
So that's another level. Another thing that we did to as an on-ramp is we would have these scholastic book fairs. And I remember one year a second grade boy say, time after time I make this wish list and I never get anything on it. And I just broke my heart. And I thought, you know what? We're going to do a Christmas book giveaway. And so we're going to raise some money and buy books for every single student in the school and wrap them and present them to students. And so that's been a fun way as an on-ramp for people, relatively inexpensive way to get involved. And then they've gotten involved more, after that, becoming that Christmas book giveaway.
I love it. You're in the middle of that one probably right now, aren't you?
We are indeed. Exactly.
I love it. All right. So I love the idea of the partner days and having partners come in to support students. I know you mentioned in the last episode, you guys had to raise $45 million to buy the building next door, or didn't have to. You got to, so that opportunity came up. When you guys have things like that, come up? How are you approaching those? Because is that still a partner model, or is that, hey, we're going to do something else to raise that money as like a capital campaign?
So we did a capital campaign, and what we did is I went out and had 125 lunches. I met individually, one-on-one with with our partners, and showed them again the opportunity to be able to grow the size of the school to serve 600 more youth in our city with this kind of education. And when we were contemplating whether we should go ahead and buy this adjoining eye hospital, one of the people we shared the project with said, Russ, this is the most important, necessary, and urgent project of anything that I know of going on in the Twin Cities. And if you decide to move ahead with this, you'll have a check for $6 million in 2 weeks.
Gee
And
whiz.
that was that was amazing. And so we were able to actually buy the facility for like 6.7 million. And so we paid cash for the building that we bought, and then had to do the renovation work to turn it into a hospital, into a school.
Man.
But boy, was that ever an eye opener. But those lunches, right? I mean, you can imagine sitting down with the people that were already partners, right? They already loved the school, loved the work of the school, and asked if they would consider making above and beyond their annual partner gift a capital gift to do that. So that was a $45 million project, and I think we're just around $43 million that we've raised towards that.
Hey, I just want to take a really quick break from the podcast to highlight one of our amazing partners and sponsors, ClassReach. If you're a new school administrator or founder and are struggling to keep up with all the hassles of planting a new school, like collecting tuition, communicating with parents, or handling student data, then you need ClassReach. ClassReach is the all-in-one software that helps with everything from admissions and tuition to classroom management and parent communications. Sign up for a free consultation with one of their school specialists and see how ClassReach can help your school grow today. You guys can check them out online, classreach.com. They are a kingdom-minded company, and I love their leadership team there. I've become friends with a lot of them. They truly are a great company. I support them, and I love them, and you guys will love them too. Check them out at classreach.com. Now, back to the show. Wow. So I know when I've talked with, well, obviously, congrats on that. That's awesome. But as we've talked with more schools, I feel like what I hear over and over again from schools is like, oh, we do this fundraiser, then this fundraiser, then this. They do all these fundraisers throughout the year, and they burn people out. And they feel like, the parents who are giving, then they're asked to continue to give in other ways, and it's more parent driven than others. So obviously this approach, you have partners. Do you ever fear or have had where you're like, oh man, I don't want to burn out these partners that we have? Or is that not the case in this situation because of how you guys have framed everything? What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, we don't do any fundraising in terms of events.
Okay.
Yeah. Those feel like they like you said are more zapping the energy in that. But I think connecting it to providing an opportunity to serve a group of students in our city that would otherwise not get that opportunity, right? That's a really compelling case, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe like if you thought, for instance, of you probably have some open seats in your school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those aren't bringing in any money, right? What if you said we're going to intentionally go out and raise money to enable a family to take that seat, right? You'd be amazed at the kind of response of people that say, yes, that's the kind of thing that I'm excited to give to broaden accessibility to this school.
The specificness is, if that's a word, is that a word? Specific?
Sure. Sure.
I like it. It's going to work for what I'm saying here. Is so much better.
Specificity.
Oh, that like sounds even better. I like. See, we're smart today. Whew. Is so good for when you're asking for these things, and I preface that by the fundraisers that I've been asked of from kids I know at church or the neighborhood, and they're like, "Hi, Mitchell, will you give to this?" And I'm like, where's the money going? And they're like, "Oh, it's just going to the school. It's going to the school." I'm like, okay, like depending on what it is, I usually obviously support it. But if somebody was to come to me and say, "Hey, Mitchell, we're raising money. We're building new picnic tables for our lunch area because so we can be outside during lunchtime." I'd be like, "Wow, that is really specific. Yeah, we're trying to raise $10,000 and we have 7,000 more to go or whatever."
Yeah.
I'm so much more apt to give because it's specific and I know where my money's going. I don't like not knowing where my money's going.
Well, here's the principle, Mitchell, is that people give to vision, not to need.
That's good.
Right. So that's where most of our work fails, is that we're bringing a need, right? But think in terms of like, what does that thing enable us to do that we otherwise wouldn't do, that's going to be of interest, right? How's it going to expand our capacity to do this or to do that? So people give to vision. So you've got to really be able to cast a compelling vision. Right now, here at our school, it's you can transform the life of a child from on the pathway to being a gang member to being right the CEO of of an organization in our city. Right. So you got to again be really good at casting vision.
And do you have any tips on the casting vision part for these schools that are like, man, we need to get better at the ask and we need to get better at the vision? Like what would maybe some tips around that be?
Yeah, I think it's more in terms of in like here's an idea. So we were seeing students struggle as they graduated from Hope Academy with what they were going to do after graduation, and so we were thinking around this idea of vocation, right? That the word vocation comes from the Latin word vocare, meaning to call. And so it used to be that everybody did their work as a response to God's call on their lives. And so what we decided to do is to help all of our graduates get a vision for God's call on their life before they graduated from Hope. And what we decided to do was to create 5 pathways, vocational pathways for our students to explore what God may have for them. And so we have a Hope Arts pathway. We've got a Hope Tech pathway. We've got a Hope Med pathway, a Hope Biz pathway, and a Hope Serve pathway. And so at the end of the day, our students get to take electives and to try out those areas so they get a clear sense to explore and experiment and understand what God's call would be on their life. So when they graduate, right, they've got a clear sense of, I think God's calling me in this direction, right? And boy, when you share that with donors, they're like, oh, I wish somebody had done that with me when I was 17 years old, right? Because I didn't have a clue what I should be doing in that. And so, yeah, there's an idea where there's a need, right? The need is students struggling to know what they should be doing after graduation, and a solution, right? That you could be a part of being a part of that solution.
That's good. All right. I love that. So those that are listening, please make a vision for what you're doing for fundraising. Don't say, we need this, we need this, we need this. But here is the vision that you get to be a part of helping us bring to fruition to serve these students. Because man, if you do that and you be even more specific, you're going to get a lot more people to be partners with you. And I love that we're calling them partners and not donors as well. I feel like I feel like that has a bad word. I don't know if we don't like that word maybe as much. Is that, and I'm assuming that's on purpose for how you guys have done that, right? Yeah, we're gonna have our donor dinner instead of our partner dinner. I was like, well, Obviously, I've loved this episode as well. I would, before I ask you my final question for piece of advice, any other things to share on the fundraising side, Russ? I want to make sure I definitely don't cut you short. If there was something like, man, I really want to dive into this area, let's make sure we do that before I close it off. Anything else to share?
Huh. Well, I think you touched on it earlier, Mitchell, is having a plan and working at it. One thing that we did that was unusual is that we said if we received any gifts over $100,000, we would only put 100,000 of that into the annual fund, so that it wouldn't undermine our right our ability to go out and continue to find more partners. So I've seen a number of schools where they got, $1 million, $2 million gift, and they stopped then having the monthly tours, that they start raising up the partners in that. And it really worked to undermine, right, their development work. And so, we would only take 100,000 of that into any single year, so that it didn't take away the incentive to continue to go out and find those partners. You'd think, right, that it would be better if we could have two $2 million givers. My saying is that I would rather have 500 smaller givers, right, than two really large givers, because those gifts are going to go away at some point, but having a large number of significant gifts is the sustainable way of going there. So so don't let anything steal your your enthusiasm for finding more of those partners.
That's good. Have you heard of the College of the Ozarks before?
I have, yeah.
And so, and are you familiar with their model at all? How they do it?
Is it a work model? Is that what it is?
It is. Like, the students don't pay anything to come to the college, and so it's like 1,300 students, and their big thing, and I just still blows my mind when I think about it. I love sharing about their story, but they started like 100 years ago, and they had like $10,000 or whatever when they started the college, and now they have over $1 billion in their endowment. And what they do is they live off the interest. Like, now they're obviously getting a ton of donors still that are coming in and adding to that, but they told me they've only had to dip into the endowment one time in 100 years, and they just live off the interest made from the endowment. And so I'm thinking, like, okay, you run this full college in Missouri off of that, and have 1,300 students, people giving, you got staff, you got all this, and it's a beautiful campus. Anybody ever gets a chance to go visit them, and right outside Branson, Missouri. But I look at that for $1 billion. And then you look at Harvard, who has like $44 billion in their endowment, and how much you can live off of that. Like, it's, for a little school like this, a Christian school charging no tuition and having 1,300 or whatever it is students, and Harvard's charging an arm and a leg to go to their college. You're like, wow, like we're taking advantage of a lot of people in the college system in a lot of ways. So I look at them as they're doing a really good job of casting vision of, like, here's what we're trying to do for these students, and people just continue to give, and they have so many cool stories of that. And I think it's the same for you guys. You've done such a good job casting vision that people want to be a partner of that and be with you guys in what you're doing. So just kudos, obviously, to what you guys are doing. You reminded me a little bit of College of the Ozarks and what they're doing. So I love it. Well, as we close out, I'd love to ask you again a final question for the fundraising topic we're on. If you were to share another piece of advice for the school leaders listening in the world of fundraising, what would that piece of advice be?
Yeah, I think it would be to use the phrase the ministry of fundraising. That the best kind of fundraising is to think in terms of a ministry to the partners. And in 2 Corinthians 8, the Apostle Paul talks about his work to raise funds for an effort in Jerusalem, right? And he says, I testify that the Macedonian churches gave as much as they were able, and even beyond their ability, and entirely on their own. They urgently pleaded with us for the privilege of sharing in this ministry to the saints. Can you imagine partners pleading with you, begging you for the privilege of getting involved in the ministry that you're doing. I think as you see that your school is in the solutions business, right? If you think and act in that way, you too will soon have donors fighting for the privilege of contributing to your next capital campaign.
I love that. Well, if you guys are listening in, you learned something from today, which you should have. I would encourage you to go listen to it again and just change your mindset on partnership development when it comes to people being a part of your school and helping to support it. And obviously learn from Russ Gregg himself and what he's doing at Hope Academy. Russ, obviously, thank you again for taking time. I know we did 2 episodes back to back for you and I recording. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate it. I've learned a lot. I've been encouraged by you and what you're doing. So wishing you guys nothing but the best is what you continue to do there in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you for following God's call in your life for that.
Mitchell, it was a pleasure.
Well, another huge shout out and thank you again to Russ for taking time and being on the podcast today. I love how we were able to dive into fundraising and just how incredibly important and intricate the fundraising world is, and that you guys should be, of course, nurturing those partnerships at your school to get people that are able to say, yes, I want to be a part of what you're doing, whether it's financially or even just donating their time to your school. So as always, hoping you guys were able to take at least one thing away from today's episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Before you guys go, we do have 3 free resources we want to make sure you're aware of and you are getting a hold of. The first one, you're doing a great job at this one. It's the podcast. Free episodes dropping every Monday. So make sure you're tuning back in every Monday to get those episodes. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss them. And if you haven't also, we'd love a 5-star review if you are enjoying the content that we're putting out. That would mean a lot to myself and my team. And then our school success report also gets sent out on Mondays. You can sign up for that to get right into your inbox every Monday. In our website, schoolsuccessmakers.com, in the top right-hand corner, there's a button to sign up for that. There's some articles, different blog things we have found from online to make sure you have one place on Mondays you can get your podcast episode you're listening to on the way to school, and then you can read through this email to learn and get some different articles that we have compiled or written for you to have a good, successful week ahead. So make sure you're getting that. And last but not least, our free Facebook community called School Success Makers. Go join that. I'm personally in there and would love to see you in there as well. That's where you can ask questions, get to know other school leaders across the country. It's just a great place to be. So make sure you are in there as well. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or ideas for the podcast or what we're doing here, you can reach out to us on our website, schoolsuccessmakers.com, and let us know that. Because maybe you have a guest that you're like, man, I feel like this person would be a great person to have on as a guest for School Success. Or maybe you think you'd be a great guest on School Success. Well, let us know. You got to reach out to us through our website, schoolsuccessmakers.com, and let us know. But as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in every week. We love you guys, and we'll be back here next week with another awesome guest as usual on the School Success Podcast. We'll see you then. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Herzog Foundation.